What's up? It's Ali. Welcome back to more Aidyn Plus. So, in the last session, God, did we just cross the 40-hour mark? We did, Jesus. We found Parrot Scene. We've got more raiding to do out here in the hills. There's plenty of things to kill. You better believe me on that one. But the unfortunate thing about the hills is that there's, not a whole lot of new enemies that we'll encounter out here. I think we might find some lava hounds somewhere in one of these dips, but apart from them, the place is kind of tapped, which is a real problem considering I wholly intend to kill everything we come across. Like this stone golem who never got his comeuppance last time and is about to. And you might think that means that, oh, I have nothing to talk about this session. Well, you're wrong, because I have finally begun making my changes to the mod. My next wave of them. I feel like we're far enough in this playthrough to see that things are going fine. And there are some things I'm definitely going to change. Most of them involve spells. But yeah, I figure this session would be a good time to actually start discussing the things I want to do. Ow! Leave Barrett alone, that's mean! Hey, guy. Hey. If I didn't need to kill your friend worse, I would be hitting you with this instead. Alright, so anyway. The spells. They're going to be the one thing that's majorly changed in the next one. Majorly changed in, the sense of, the minutia surrounding them, I guess. Not so much the way they work. Some of them are going to have the way they work changed, but we're going to talk about it. We're just going to go down the list, sorta. I don't actually have a list. It's coming out of my memory, and it's probably going to be a disorganized mess. But, I kind of feel like that's just par for the course at this point. Don't even worry about it. Don't open this box. Another bog map. I was looking through my maps to see which ones I've gotten and which ones came off of the charts. And there are still some we haven't found, believe it or not. But I think they're all early game, because some of them mention, the Goblin Stronghold and stuff. And, we had already cleared those areas when I got the idea to add these maps to the drop charts. So there's a very good chance we actually don't have any more we can openly use. But that's just fine anyway, because I don't foresee needing any additional drop charts, at least for as things currently are. Oh, there's a Hellhound. But does it have lava hounds with it? It does. Okay, so lava hounds. That's the big one right there. I can't reach him with... Oh, I can't attack it anyway. I'm using a fire weapon. Donovan, your loadout is terrible. Oh, well, they're only resistant to fire now because I ruined everything. Yeah, that still hurt you. So, lava hounds actually changed their name. They are now known as Cerberus. And yes, you don't have to tell me, I know that Cerberus is actually a specific hellhound that lives in hell and mythology, but these things are clearly inspired by Cerberus, and I think Cerberus is a much cooler name than Lava Hound, so deal with it. They're called Cerberi now. And I think I mentioned in my previous talks about fire enemies that these things know Fireball now. So, the small ones are going to be casting Immolation, the big ones, they have Fireball, and they are very dangerous. Okay. I don't even know if I want to let them get it off. I did boost their level substantially. Oh, that's their usual attack animation, the Fire Breath. We're out of stamina. Haha, we don't get to see your Fireball today, Cerberus. But yeah, I raised their levels substantially, because, hey, there's the bite! See? We saw both their attack animations, just like I told you we would. Stop sidetracking me with your animated nonsense, dogs. Basically, since Lava Hounds were so uncommon in the original, they're definitely endgame enemies, and you only see a handful of them throughout the desert and whatnot. I was comfortable raising their levels a lot. I think they used to be somewhere in the teens. They're level 27 now. And as you can see, that didn't count for anything because of how easily we killed it regardless. But I'm sure the additional levels helped them out to some degree. Hellhound's also got a boost in level, but I don't remember how much. Yeah, Cerberus is one of the ones that are like really up there. So if I hadn't gone super hard on it there, it might have actually taken a pretty good chunk out of us. Who knows? But yeah, I'm glad I don't have to try to remember to show you guys how a Hellhound bite looks. That's finally out of the way. Hey, we got the Fireball Scroll! How nice. So anyway... oh sorry, let me just get my bearings real quick. Okay, so over this hill, we should be able to see the Jundark Gate. There's the anus of the mountain, that big black spot on the side of the wall there. That's just how I know it. It's a good landmark for this area, and we'll find out why shortly. I'm just going up here to confirm my suspicions. I don't think there are any enemies up here. Or maybe not. Maybe some trolls? Am I remembering right? They might be like far over there. Yeah, see, there's the Jundar Gate. That's our ultimate destination when we're done raiding this place. Do I want to do that side first or this side? Let's do this side while we're here. We're not going to the gate. We're gonna head down in this valley and make a right to kill some Cyclopses and other things. So, anyway, the spells. I believe I talked in a previous video about some of my intentions for them. I was going to... Oh, hey, we actually got the desert territory. This is the battlefield for the desert, because we're just close enough to it for it to count. But yeah, I was talking about, in previous videos, how I wanted to adjust the spells and things, like with their ranks and their experience costs. And I had those plans laid out for a while. And I've finally put them to use, but I might need to reevaluate them a little because there were a couple spells that I changed the functionality of that might actually be important. Pardon me, like enough such that it would affect or how much it costs to use them or whatever, or learn them. I did my best to balance them in each school, so that there's a variety of spells that characters can learn no matter what rank they are as a wizard. And no matter what school they are, too. I didn't really compare that to availability, but in general, the weaker spells are available sooner anyway, and those are the ones that you can learn at lower ranks. Experience costs for spells fluctuated quite a bit. In the original, they go as low as... I want to say, like, 2 or something is the lowest I saw on the list when I was looking the other day, and as high as 15. I'm certain I mentioned this before, but like I put 4 spells on each tier and 3 on 1 because there are 59 spells in the game, so it almost works out to an even 60, which would have been 4 on each level. And by that I mean, like, it increases in increments. Like, a spell at rank 1, or rank 1 experience cost, would cost, like, 40 for level 1, I think it is, whereas a level 2 experience cost would be 80. It just multiplies like that, all the way up. And I tried to choose which spells would be the most costly to raise based on their usefulness, i.e. their brokenness, basically. So, as you can imagine, the aura spells, Charming, and Mirror are all level 15 experience, because they should cost the most, honestly. And things like Light, Darkness, and Cheat Death, which don't really improve with spell rank, those are all the ones. Because, although those spells are very useful, the reason to raise them is... I don't even know if there is a reason to raise them, honestly. Like, if you know the spell, you know the spell, and like... Light overrides darkness and vice versa. Cheat Death always works, as far as I know. If it's cast on someone, they will not die from a hit that would kill them. Period. So I saw no reason to make those costs any higher than they need to be. But, conversely, since those spells are very useful, the wizard rank to learn them is higher. So, like, if you want to learn Light or Darkness, you need to be wizard rank 5, and I think I put Cheat Death at rank 7. So, even though you need to be a good wizard to learn them, you don't necessarily need to be a good wizard to raise them. And I feel like that's fair for those types of spells. And everything else is distributed along through it in various ways. Some of them are lower than they might be if we can improve our modding capabilities later. Like how I was talking about the adjustments to the control spells. Like, Charming is the best of all of those, obviously. And then there's Control Zombies that only works on zombies, and Control Elemental that only works on elementals, and Control Marquee that only works on one monster that you see twice in the game. If those could be expanded, I would rank them higher in things. But as it is, they're around like the 6 range for experience, and fairly high to learn too. But they're just like really niche spells, so I didn't I tried not to make them too outrageous. But on top of adjusting ranks and experience costs to raise spells, I took a look at the reagents used to cast them as well. Because one problem I've always had with Aidyn, whether it was the original or this mod, because I haven't changed them much, is that a lot of spells are slanted toward gemstones. Like, the majority of spells actually cost gemstones to cast. And that really stinks because it means you tend to use a lot of gemstone spells and you run out of gemstones, and then you've got this big pile of spice and herbs and you can't cast the spells you need anymore because you ran out of the thing you needed. So what I did was I looked at them all, and once again I just tried to divide them up as evenly as possible, both within school and within the spell pool altogether. Once again, there were 59 spells in the game, so if there were 60, there could be 20 for each reagent, because there are 3 reagents, herb, spice, and gemstones. I don't remember exactly which one got quote-unquote cheated out of having a reagent like less. Like one of them there's only 19 and the other 2 there are 20. I don't need healing potions. Where did I get a strength potion from? That's so strange. Who would have dropped that? I think that must be like a fixed drop for that combat, because I definitely didn't leave strength potions on any charts. Although I guess I could, maybe. Nah, not really. There's not a lot of room in those drop charts, believe me. Anyway. Yeah, so I divided them up, so there are roughly 20 spells for each reagent. And like, I was looking through the list whenever I was deciding to do this, and I counted the gemstones specifically. There were 29 spells that use gemstones, which is totally absurd. Excuse me, I had to take a drink. The main contributing factor to that was that the Dispel and Versus spells all used gemstones before. So anytime you would need to use any of those fairly common spells, it would come out of your gemstone pile. But then again, even though those spells all use gemstones, in the original you don't really need them that much. Like, the most useful Dispel move in the original game is Dispel Necro, because you can use it to get rid of Wall of Bones. And Dispel Star would be super great to have if anyone could learn it besides Sholei. But that's an OG problem, not a mod problem, because we now have access to all those spells all the time. Like, yeah, Dispel Necro, there originally only used to be one copy of it available in the entire game, and you get it in Castle Aidyn. And you would always want to teach it to Aileron, since he's the only one who can never be afflicted with Wall of Bones. But Dispel Star, it cannot be learned by any means across the entire game. Sholei she has it part of her default skill set, and that's the only reason anyone has it. But no, now we've got the scrolls and the tutors, and we can do whatever we want with everything, so it's fine. It's not a big deal. Cyclops actually wants to fight. Look at him go. I guess it's worth mentioning that I haven't made the changes to this copy of Aidyn Plus that I'm playing right now. They're on my other computer where I'm still finalizing the changes and all that fun stuff. So no, we're not going to see any of these things I'm talking about reflected in the current playthrough. But in future playthroughs, they'll definitely be there. So let's see. Talked about spell ranks and spell experience and reagents. All of those things are divided up accordingly, so that they make a little more sense. I don't need the herbs anymore either. Now let's talk about spells that I'm actually going to be changing things for. I guess the elephant in the room on that one is the aura spells, which I've been abusing relentlessly this entire time. They are definitely not going to be quite as powerful as they once were. I talked about last session how I wanted to keep it such that they still affect multiple targets. Yeah, that's still going to be the case, because I wanted to differentiate them from the trapping moves, which already did the same thing to single targets, basically. Why can't I hit that guy? He's just out of... I can't see him, apparently. Aileron, you're too fat. I can't see that guy you're in front of. Okay, I can see him there. Whatever. Sorry, I'm like trying to choose my words here. Yeah, I took a look at the aura spells in the Aidyn editor, and my god, their range is 10, which is the highest range that any spell has, and it basically means it can hit the entire battlefield, so that's really stupid. I knocked that down to 1, which means it has the absolute minimum range, and I think that can still get fairly large, but you're not going to be able to cast it from all the way across the field anymore. So that's a major balancing factor. I haven't touched stamina costs yet, but it's something I want to look at for sure, because, in case you weren't aware, casting spells in Aidyn looks at quite a few things. There's the reagent cost, so you can't cast a spell unless you have that reagent, and there's the stamina cost, so you can't cast that spell unless you have enough stamina to back it up. And as you may know, stamina is part of your HP, so it literally costs you health to cast spells. There's also a hidden stat called Spell Battery. Several items increase this, but you can't actually see it on your characters themselves. I'm not sure that heroes even have it. I'm pretty sure they do, and a lot of monsters certainly do. There's one byte in the data that we're pretty sure we have pinned down as Spell Battery, but it's kind of hard to test because, like we said, the stat is invisible. The only way we can really test to see if we've got it right is like give an enemy a spell and just enough Spell Battery to cast that spell once, maybe, and then see if that enemy can cast the spell without losing any health, but without being able to cast it again afterward. Basically, it's something I'd have to rig up and just do a test for. But I'm like 99% certain anyway, because the way item bonuses work in this game, there's you can assign what kind of stat to raise, and Spell Battery is the 6th stat in the list. And it starts with Intelligence, goes to Willpower, goes to Dex, Endurance, Strength. Then it skips Stamina and goes to Spell Battery. And I think that's a pretty solid indicator that the mystery stat in all the character and monster blocks is Spell Battery. But anyway, it's unconfirmed. And I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there. Spellcasting. You need stamina for it. And the stamina cost for casting the spell is reflective of, like, its difficulty, or at least it's supposed to be. You'd think it would be. I don't know exactly what logic they applied to it whenever they were originally designing the game, but, like, I looked at Charming's spell cost, and you would think it might take a lot of stamina to take control of an enemy. But no, it costs, like, 6 stamina, which is fairly low. Some things are really, really low, like only 2 or 3. But they're spells that you would be using fairly often. And I kind of want to just look at each one and decide whether the stamina cost is justified or not. The more useful spells are certainly going to be getting higher ones. And speaking of useful spells, Frozen Doom and Wall of Bones, the well-known trapping moves of the original game, and the eternal headache of people who get stuck fighting whites a lot. Well, I gave it some thought and decided that I could try to balance these out a little bit better. And what I'm going to do do for them, is something similar to what's already done with Aura of Death and Aura of Wrath. Basically, I'm giving the spells aspects so they only affect half of the monsters in the game each. This is why I said I might need to adjust my list a bit, because Frozen Doom and Wall of Bones are both pretty far up there already. I think they ended up in like the 14 experience category, which is a little unreasonable if they're nerfed in this way. How do you still have stamina, guy? Because just like the aura spells, you would need both of them if you wanted to be able to cast trapping moves on anything you want. And that kind of dampens their value as spells because you need both of them. But what I decided for them was that I made Wall of Bones only able to affect solar enemies, and Frozen Doom can only affect lunar enemies. And the significance of this, it may not be outright apparent, but the really nice thing about it is it makes Aileron immune to both moves, because he is always immune to Wall of Bones. The target of the spell must have a true name in order for them to be afflicted, and Aileron does not. So that's why in the original game he can never have Wall of Bones cast on him. I don't know if he can be trapped like that after he gets his true name. It would be pretty interesting if that was like a switch that turned off and suddenly Wall of Bones could affect him. But to my knowledge, it does not, or that Wall of Bones just doesn't show up enough in the late game for it to be relevant. Anyway, he was never immune to a Frozen Doom before, but now that it can only affect lunar enemies, that means it can also only affect lunar heroes. I don't know why I'm fighting this guy. He's just gonna run off on his own. Run away, troll. Get out of here.